Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. I'm Vivian Porritt, and I'm one of the 7 global strategic leaders of WomenEd. And we're looking at what I think is the big one for us, which is negotiation skills this evening. So it's an hour's webinar, but I'm looking forward to seeing what you've got in the chat as well. And if you're still joining us at all, which I can see you are, I have launched a poll if you can see that. It'd be really good to know why you're joining us this evening. What do you want to negotiate for or about? And I didn't put all of them on, and I'm thinking maybe now I should. I've put in my name, my Twitter name and the WomenEd Twitter name, and we also would love people to be, if you've got a chance, to be tweeting out throughout the evening, and please tweet #WomenEd, which you'll see very shortly. I'm going to start sharing my slides. Some of the slides have got links in, so I don't have to interrupt to put them in the chat, and everybody will get the recording as soon as we can get it up on YouTube. We'll email that through to you, and we'll also email the PowerPoint and other resources that we think we could help with. If you would like to, while I'm sharing my thoughts this evening, if you opened the WomenEd website, womened.org, and you go to the campaigns and resources page, you'll also see lots of resources under the range of campaigns and that we're describing there. So there might be some things that you're interested in to help you after this evening. That's not it. Sorry, just wait 1 second. Right, so just wait 1 second. Sorry, that's... There we are. My apologies, the view went peculiar for me. Right, sharing screen again. There we go. Could somebody put in the chat for me that you can see the screen all right? I'd really appreciate that. Thank you very much, Kate. Appreciate that. Okay, so WomenEd and negotiation skills this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. And in case any of you aren't aware of WomenEd, then I'm going to gallop through what you need to know about us, and then we'll get down to the main part of the business. So this is WomenEd's mission: to empower more women to have the choice to make progress on their leadership journey. You don't have to be a leader to be part of WomenEd or even want to be, but we really hope you will, because that's our focus. If you want to be a leader at some point in your career or to move to your next leadership step, we want to remove the barriers that lay in the way of very many women who have a different leadership journey than the traditional straight up the ladder. And part of our skills sessions are to give you the skills to make that progress and to be aware of some of the barriers that are in your way. So if you are keen to find out how negotiation skills can help you in that journey, then I'm looking forward to sharing that with you this evening. These are our values. We are a values-driven organisation. Particularly this evening, I would say the relevant values are clarity about how you can negotiate and why, and the challenge to you as individuals to do that, and what change that can bring about. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be about confidence in there as well. Women Ed works through our networks. We're structured around the Global Strategic Leadership core team that has the strategic role across our networks, country networks and regional networks in those countries. And we want to be as close as possible to where women live and work so that we can really give you the support that you would wish and desire. It's fabulous that we've got 36 networks at the moment globally. Our latest is Women Ed Taiwan, and very excitedly we look to have created a regional network in Australia. So we're looking forward to that group developing as they build their team. I think there are 2 continents that we're not in yet, so we'll have to see what we can do about those, won't we? So if anybody here is from Africa or for South America, then we'd like to hear from you. We also want our allies to be involved, particularly men who are leaders in education and who want gender equity and gender equality. And they know that it's about human rights that affects all of us globally. Very many men are the leaders in education with whom we work to be able to help women to make progress. And helping women with negotiation skills, we think will bring about some of that gender equity. We have lots of ways in which we can be in contact with you, and the social media channels we can use. When I send the slides through to you, all of these are live links so that you can go straight to your communication channel of choice. And as I said, do have a look at the Women Ed website, womened.org. Go onto the campaigns and resources page, and you'll see some of the resources to help you with these skills. Hopefully some of you know about our books and have read about our books. 10% Braver is the first one. Being 10% Braver was published last Christmas. I can't believe it's nearly a year since the publication of that. 10% Braver in chapter 11, which is the one I wrote on the gender pay gap, has got lots of suggestions for negotiation in there. So if you already have that, remember to dig it out and have a look. And if you haven't, then do by all means, please. Buy both of them. Double header for you there. But they're packed with the kind of ideas and resources that will help you this evening. So we're starting to get to the meat of this evening. We have 4 campaigns. Each one of them is intermingled with the others. We want more women to be represented in leadership roles across the education settings across the globe. There isn't a single country we have found yet where women are proportionately represented in leadership roles when compared to the number of women in the workforce. Katie, I think you've raised your hand by mistake, possibly, because we can't do that in a webinar. Do put a question in the chat and I'll catch up. We also want to increase diversity of women in leadership roles, and we want women to feel that they can be leaders no matter what their background, no matter what their previous experience. We want women to be represented in all leadership roles. And we think we need flexible working practices to develop more, and we certainly want to reduce gender pay gaps so that women are there on an equal footing with men in education around the globe. And some of our skills sessions are about equipping women with some of the skills in which they feel they lack confidence to be able to address representation, diversity, and the tools, the vehicles, flexible working practices to achieve those roles. And we want to stop and reduce the gender pay gap that is in existence in all the countries we have found so far and in all of the sectors within education. I joined education because I thought it was an equitable, fair profession, and I wanted to be able to make a difference for my colleagues and the students that I taught. At the moment, in most education settings, women are not treated equitably to men, and that is especially so in terms of the gender pay gap. Negotiation is one of the ways we can address that. I'm stopping my share because I've picked up, I would, wouldn't I, when it's just me. I've picked up the wrong PowerPoint to continue. Right, can you put in the chat, please, if you haven't, what it is you want to get out of the particular session this evening for you? I'm sorry, it's not letting me do this. Can't really say chat amongst yourself, can we? Right, here we go. I'm awfully sorry. I do not know what is happening with this. I'm going to try again. If not, I'm going to have to do it just by talking with you. No idea what's happening, colleagues. Oh. Right. Well, I'm going to have another go. I don't know, Palm. I can't find it. Hang on, Palm. I'm just going to see if I can. How do I make you a co-host? Hang on. I've made you a panelist, Palm. Thank you. Are you joining in? Yes. Right. Now then, I've got to find this. So that's the...
You've got that one on. I've got your screen up now.
But it comes as... It goes straight to the wrong one. It's not there. End it.
Oh, maybe go to slideshow at the top of the screen, and if you can see that at the top of your screen, slideshow, and then start from current slide.
I don't know where you mean.
Hold on, I need to... At the top of your PowerPoint page.
Pardon?
At the top of your PowerPoint page, it should say slideshow. Maybe if you click on that, bring it down, and then go to start from current slide. If you're looking for a particular...
But it's not sharing. I'm awfully sorry, colleagues.
Do you want to email it to me?
I'm just going to try once more, because that's the presentation. So I don't know what it is I'm doing wrong. I drop it down.
There's a great conversation going on by chat.
Good. Keep him going with the chat. There you go for me, Palm.
I will.
Right, I'm going to try once more.
Let's see what people have been saying, because there's been lots of interesting, so lots of questions, things people are interested in, tips for negotiating salary, house confidently, that was just brilliant. How to initiate a conversation, that's always a tricky one, isn't it? How do you start the conversation when you're not quite
know
sure?
why it won't do that.
Okay, why don't you, can you send that email to me and I'll see if I can try and get it up. I'm going to log on from my laptop.
Thank you, my darling.
That's all right. Just bear with me and I'll log on. I'll come in again. So you'll probably, I'll come out and then I'll come in. So I'll just leave now.
Good. Keep you going in the chat, everybody, for me. I'm really appreciating that, because I have absolutely no idea what's gone wrong here. Right, so I've sent it to Palm and I'm going to be waiting for Palm to let me know when she's got it. Right, let's have a look at what's going on in the chat for now. Okay. So you want to negotiate roles and you want to negotiate for salaries. Oh, now this is a very interesting point, isn't it? Amy, hard when you're going for a job and trying to convince them you're the best person and then to negotiate, like you should feel totally grateful for the job and keep quiet. I did that, Amy, when I was first offered a headship. I sat on the end of the phone and the chair of governance offered me the post and I simply said, yes, please, I'm absolutely thrilled for that. Absolutely thrilled. Palm, it will only let me promote you to a panelist. Any other suggestion?
No, that's perfect. I'm here. Okay, I've got your PowerPoint as well. So just bear with me and I will see if I can get it up on the screen. Is there a particular slide you wanted to go to, or
the disrupt one?
Okay.
But anywhere, as long as you can get it up for me.
Okay, then. Just bear with me. Let's see if it works.
So yes, I was saying when I got the phone call that I was being offered the head teacher's post, I just was thrilled and I said yes. I should have negotiated there. And if you read my chapter in 10% Braver, that tells you why I should have done that. Hello, Andy. I'm a bit delayed, as you can tell.
Don't worry, we've all been there.
I don't know how to let you do it.
Vivian, I can't.
I know it. There's something wrong. It won't let me.
Okay, hold on. Just bear with me and I will try.
No, normally on the participants, it says that you can make everybody be able to do it.
You can make me a co-host, can't you? But
no,
it just
won't let it. There you are. I've said all panelists can share.
Right, okay. There you go. Now I can. So share. Is that it?
No. Oh, yes.
That's the one, isn't it? So if I just open with slides, then we should have it.
Oh, I've never done it through Google ones before.
See how it works. And play.
Thank you. Can you whiz it down to disrupt?
Of course I can.
Now, class, children, I may need you to tell me where I was before we were rudely interrupted. Look.
No, you must have.
That's not the right one.
Oh.
Right.
No, that's the one I've got.
Okay, so move on to the next one. So I probably did have the right one all the time.
I think you probably did, but maybe your version didn't save, but that sounds strange.
Right. So what we are about to do this evening for everyone who wants to accept this mission is we're going to start thinking of the ways we can disrupt everything you've put in the chat so that we can use negotiation in a positive way and a way that makes us feel comfortable. So thank you, Palm.
You're welcome.
So what I want you to do is to really decide that you're going to be braver as a result of this, and you are going to test out these things in some way that I'm going to share with you. Thank you, Paul. Okay, we're going to ask ourselves why we want to negotiate and learn the key skills, and then I want to take you through the golden rules. The article I wrote for Tez is there, but you'll get all of that information in the slides. If you want to read it while I'm talking, just search for Tez Vivian Porritt salary and it'll come up. Thank you. Okay, so why are we going to negotiate? You've put the kind of things you'd want to talk about within negotiation. And one of the reasons I think women get more nervous about negotiating than men is because we think it's about winning. And that isn't always the way we think or work as leaders. We tend to want, as leaders, a collaborative approach to what we're going to do or to decisions. What we need to understand is that negotiation is about win-win. There are two sides, two parties in negotiating. And the whole point of the negotiation is to come to an agreed point at which both parties feel happy. Whereas I think women feel it's a real conflict and they'd rather avoid the conflict so that everybody can be happy. Except by doing that, the woman is left unhappy because they've had to not go for what they think they could possibly want. So you need to negotiate so that both parties can be happy. And that's a really important reason that I hope it helps you to think that. If there isn't a win-win, then there's ways forward within that. But the aim of a negotiation is for you and the people you're negotiating with to both feel happy as a result. So what do you want to negotiate? Thank you, Palm. So there's the obvious four what's, some of the things you've been putting in the presentation. Time, support, development might equally be as important to you as salary or your role or a new role. Remember that you can negotiate personally as well, and that's where you might want to start with a bit of practice after this evening. I just bought a new car recently. Some of you that follow me on Facebook saw photos of it, and I love it, and it's fabulous, and I got a really good deal. I was really proud of myself at the end of it for negotiating on the model of car I wanted, when I wanted it, because there's problems with new cars at the moment, isn't it? People can't get hold of them. I found the one I wanted, I got them to get it shipped over, and I was really proud of what I'd achieved. I've negotiated for free things on a holiday. When my sister and I last went to St. Lucia, I got the holiday company to throw in the free helicopter from the one airport to the other to save the 2.5-hour drive there. And once you get into the mode of it and you know the rules, it gets a lot easier. I think share the domestic load might be my difficult one at the moment, because I live in a testosterone-filled house. So that's my struggle at the moment, but I'm working on it. So what do you want to negotiate for? Those are the things. I want to negotiate as well because I want to feel proud of myself. I want to know I'm being more brave, that I'm putting some of those old views that I think maybe people wouldn't like me if I negotiated. I'm putting that to one side, and I'm thinking about me and what I want and why I want it. And I want to share some more deeper rooted reasons as to why we negotiate. Thank you, Paul. So let's just test out the skills so that we get yes as an answer. Believe in yourself. Know your strengths and the impact you offer your organisation, if it's about work, and determination to be 10% braver. The link to one of our YouTube videos there is to one of the other skill sets we did as a webinar, and that's about writing applications. But there's a great deal in that video that you can learn from in terms of knowing your strengths and impact, and you can use it for negotiation or writing applications. So those are the 3 skills we're going to whiz through. Off we go, Palm. So I need you to be thinking now of something you want to write down in the chat for yourself, preferably, about something you believe in. Strong, positive language. I am a. What are you? Doesn't have to be about work. It could be about the champion dishwasher organizer. I don't care what it is, but I want you to use positive language. I am a driven individual. Thank you, Charlotte. And as a result of being a driven individual, I want you to have clarity about the impact of that strength. So what did it mean you could do as a result? If you're an excellent organizer, that means I can do what? Amy, that's fabulous. I'm worth the pay that shows my expertise. Amy, just add on to it, expertise in. I am worthy, I am an expert in. We have to get used to being able to say these about ourselves. If you're an inspirational English teacher, what does that mean is your impact? I'm an inspirational English teacher and achieves high outcomes for every child I teach. You've got to push yourself to that next bit. I'm not seeing the next bits yet. All I'm seeing is I am fabulous. And therefore you do what? You achieve what? You've got to know those. Because if you're going to negotiate, you've got to ensure that the other party knows your worth. And that is the key points. Excellent. It's not to be an exceptional teacher, Charlotte. You are. I've got clear goals and I am an excellent teacher. Brilliant. Thank you, Palm. We're on a roll now. Thanks, Sue. Fabulous. Things you've got to avoid are the limiting language that we use. So we're not having any of it. And I'll just keep picking people up occasionally to push on that. Those are banned words, not allowed in anything you say to yourself or to a negotiator when you are negotiating. You wouldn't start a negotiation session by saying, I am very fortunate that you have appointed me as a deputy head teacher. Now I want to negotiate my salary. You've lost immediately if you use that limiting language. Okay, thank you, Palm. So these are the words you can use. And this is the tense you need to use. Present tense for what you can offer, future tense for what you will offer as a result of achieving the win-win in the negotiated discussion. Use these words about yourself. Add a long list, use a thesaurus, get everything down that you can about your strengths and your impact, evidence of that, and talk about yourself in the present tense and the future tense. If you want to go into all of that more, it's in all of the video that I have shared the link and will send to you. Thank you, Palm. Okay, nitty-gritty stuff, 5 golden rules. And this is the real essence of this evening. We'll talk through it more. Why I was asking you to think about your strengths and your impact is because you have to do your homework. You have to know your worth and you have to be able to articulate that to the other party. Thank you for these fabulous things that you're sharing. This is your worth. This is why you need to have a win-win in your negotiation. You don't want to walk away feeling that you have somehow diminished yourself or underrated yourself. So you must do your homework. You must be able to practice saying out loud what you've just said or writing it in an email. Number 2, you have to be clear about what you want in this negotiation before you start negotiating. Before you have a conversation about negotiating, you have to be clear about what you want. And you've got 4 options in that. Aim high is, you know, sky high. Go for it. Go for what you think would make you blissfully, ecstatically happy. Really high end with it. If it's a salary, push it up a couple of thousand. If it's time, add more hours into it. If it's flexible working, say you want it every day. Give the best example you can of what would make you very, very happy. And write it down. Know what that is. You then need the middle ground. What you'd be happy with if the negotiation stopped at that point. So if aim high would be, I want another £2,000, be happy might be, I want £1,000 more. Or I want the next TLR, or I want to skip the next TLR and go right to the highest. Or I don't want to be on MP4 anymore, I want to be on MP6. Or I absolutely want to go through the threshold earlier. Or I absolutely want the funding to do the masters I want to do. And if they won't let me do the masters, I'll do the MPQH, which would be your Be Happy. Other options, if you find it really is not going well and you still want to stay where you are in the organisation or the partnership, is ask for other things. Don't just go, oh, well, all right, then I won't have anything. Ask for more time, more support. Ask for a mentor. Ask for the professional development opportunity you want. You're not going to leave that negotiation until you get something that reflects your worth. And if you can't get any of those and it's a no deal, sorry, I know that's bad for Brexit still, isn't it? But if it's no deal for you, then that's where you might need to think about walking away or starting to look for another job, because it's just going to eat away at you if your worth isn't being recognised. So what I'd like you to do for yourselves, and if you're being brave and put it in the chat, is what's your aim high? What's your be happy? Oh, Kate. Yes, exactly, Kate. As you could just see is in the chat. If it eats away at you and you try and try and try and you can't do it, walk away, because you will never feel happy. Don't walk away immediately. You might want to start building up your strengths, impacts, get ready to apply somewhere else. But don't stay if they don't treat you in the way you know you should. So write down, right, you've got to be more specific now. Get promoted with a flexible working pattern. Be clear about what kind of pattern that is for you. What's your aim high? What's your be happy? What other options? Push it, go for it. Honestly, you won't regret it if you push it, because at the very least, if you're just happy, that's super. But if you don't push for aim high, you'll never know what you could have got. Now, I do realise that number 3 and 4 are difficult for us. Stop talking and listen. When we get into a panic, what many of us do is keep talking, because we don't want to cope with the silence. You have to get used to silences in a negotiation. You've got to practice it. So, for example, if they say, well, what salary do you want? Then you say, I want £2,000 more, and you shut up. Stop talking. Don't start explaining why. Just say what you want and be quiet and let them respond. That's if you're in a verbal conversation. If you're in a written conversation by email, number 5 comes into play. Take your time. Ponder it. I was once offered a job after I'd got over not negotiating as a head teacher, and they offered me a salary, and I said, well, I'm not very happy about that, actually, because if I went back into headship, I would be able to earn a great deal more. What I'd like to suggest is, could you take the weekend and come back to me with a new offer, which I would very much look forward to receiving. I shut up, stopped talking. They blubbered on a little bit and said, yes, certainly, we'll come back to you. And I went out and I was just like all of a dither, but you have to hold it in the conversation. And that's exactly the same if it's in an email. You just say what you want and you send the email. So you are taking the emotions away from it. So that's hard for us, isn't it? We're wanting them to like us. We want them to appreciate us. But you have to say, this is not about how I feel. This is what I want. And if you do the stopping talking, you take the emotions out of it. You can go and have a cry somewhere else or a yibbity-doo-ha afterwards, but the emotions during the conversation have to stop. And I would always say, move it onto an email if possible, quickly, so you don't have to do the in-person talking, because that's hard, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to have to move us on a bit, and forgive me. I'll see what I can do in other ways, but otherwise I'm not going to get Andy to join in. We need Andy's voice in this. Thank you, Palm. Okay, so how are you going to be 10% braver because of this? I'd like to move over to Andy now, because Andy experienced a recent negotiation, and I'd love her to tell you how it went, how she felt, how she managed to do it. Over to you, Andy.
Thanks, Vivian. So a little bit of background. I saw Vivian at a Research Ed conference recently, and my jaw was dropping when she was talking about the gender pay gap, but also the sort of inequalities in terms of time that part-time teachers get. And I've been part-time for 7 years now, since my daughter was born, and I've been on sort of anything from 0.7 up to 0.8. And it suddenly dawned on me at this Research Ed conference that I'm doing the full TLR role as a head of faculty, but my non-contact time is worked out pro rata. And one of the things that Vivian was saying was actually is how sort of discriminatory that is, that you have other people on exactly the same TLR who get the full complement of their non-contact time. And therefore, if my non-contact time is worked out pro rata, but I'm doing the same job, I'm being expected to do more, but in less time. And that really resonated with me. So luckily, in the next week after the Research Ed conference, I had a line management meeting, and I'd sat down before the meeting and written out, a bit like what Vivian was saying, about what I wanted to go in with, what my clear reasons were, and kind of what opportunities I was going to give the school to look at fixing it, because actually it can't be fixed instantly in the middle of an academic year. So I just went in, and, you know, very much like Vivian said, I had to put my emotions to one side and be very matter of fact. And what I actually did was added up the data in terms of, on 0.8, I in effect was losing 2 periods a fortnight to another head of faculty who was doing the exact same job. Over the course of a 37-week year, I'm losing, you know, well over 50, 60 non-contact periods. If you times that over the 7 years that I've been part-time doing this job, just how much I've been doing for free in my blank time. So I outlined this to my line manager and said, look, you know, I appreciate I'm going to be really reasonable. I appreciate you can't do anything for perhaps this academic year with the timetable set. But by September, when you're looking at your new timetables, I really would like this to be addressed. And I did push it a little bit, and I said, you know, just to let you know, when our link governor comes in, I'm going to chat about this, you know, with them, because I think this needs to be a whole school policy change. This isn't about me. This is about any part-time TLR holder. And I just ended it with, because it is ultimately discrimination. And like you said, I just sat back, and he literally sort of looked at me and went, yeah, you're right. So he actually took it on my behalf to the head, who actually was really reasonable and actually hadn't even contemplated that this was an issue, and came back within sort of 2 days and said, yeah, you're totally right, Andy. If you are doing the full TLR and you're not job sharing, you should have the full time to be able to do that. And then that will be a policy change in our school from September.
Wowza, wowza, isn't it? That is just fantastic.
And I was so high, and I didn't think it was going to happen, but the fact that, you know, it came back so quickly was amazing.
And that's because you'd done your homework. You'd sorted the data, you had everything there that they needed to see. And, you know, these guys that are leading education, they're not bad guys. They just they have not seen what is happening. But to be fair, neither did we, did we? None of us knew this was going on. We're just good girls, and we just get on with it and do it.
And like you
Well,
were saying, I was so happy to be able to keep my TLR part-time. I didn't think about the consequences of it because I was so grateful for the job.
yes. And we have to be grateful for the role, but we also have to make sure the other party is very grateful for what they're getting. And that's a win-win. The school is delighted to keep you. You are going to start eating into all those hours they owe you. And that's a win-win. Did you have a be happy alternative, Andy?
On that, I didn't actually, but I hadn't read your 5 golden rules before, so I hadn't actually considered it. And I think, you know, it was such a black and white thing that actually you're asking somebody to do a job in exactly the same job description, but on unfavourable conditions, that I think looking back, I'm not sure what the be happy would be, perhaps. Perhaps if they wanted to, maybe more money to reflect it, but I still think if it's a like-for-like job, it should be the same terms and conditions.
So for other women joining us this evening, if it is a black and white element, then it's this or it's the highway, isn't it? Really, in the end. But also there are those middle opportunities, and it's the win-win for both parties, irrespective of what it looks like, that is important. We were also going to have another guest joining Andy this evening, Elizabeth Main, but she's not very well at all. It's not COVID, but she's not very well at all. And she couldn't speak. She's lost her voice. So what you can do on the Women Ed website under campaigns and resources and under flexible working is she's written a case study that is how she won what she wanted. And Andy, I'd love then to get your case study up there as well at the point, because the more women understand that it can be done, the more women will do it. Thanks so much, Andy. You've got so much applause in the chat. Do stay on, of course, if you want to. And that's motivating us all to have a go, isn't it? To keep going with it. Right, Palm. Are you back, Palm?
I am. What do you want?
Can we
Go back to the PowerPoint?
Yes, please.
Okay. Bear with me.
Right. So Andy's shown us what can happen when she's being brave. And that was the session Palm and I were doing at Research Ed. That's only a couple of weeks ago, isn't it, Palm? Definitely a couple of weeks. So it's fabulous that Andy was able to address it straight away. And there's a lot of women in that position with TLRs. So you might want to contact Andy at some point and say, okay, how did you work your data out? Thank you, Palm.
I think that's the end.
Oh, is that? That's the end. Oh, super duper duper. Sorry, then you can stop sharing it.
I will.
I'm so sorry. Messed half of this up this evening with no need to do it. Right, colleagues, exactly now, what is it that you can do for yourselves? We've got to be very clear on that. I asked you in the chat or on your own, written down somewhere, to say, if I do want to negotiate, what's my aim high? What's my be happy? Are there any other options that I would allow? Would I walk away? Kate in the chat said she had to walk away. And in the end, you might have to, if they can't value you in the way you know they should. But some of that sometimes is because we haven't told them our worth. We haven't shared that with our colleagues or the people who line manage us. And that's why that's a fundamental skill. So I'm going to give you some homework. and that is you have to practice these skills. So you can start it at home. You can start it with your friends. You can decide to practice on somebody at school or university or your organization. But if you don't practice it and don't do it, then you will forever feel that you are missing a way of being valued and recognized in what your organization can do for you. So let me give you a couple of examples. Couple of examples, let's have a think. So if you were going to apply for a new job internally and they offer you the job internally, what are you going to say? Put it in the chat. I am delighted to offer you this new job internally in our organization. How does that make you feel? What are you going to say to them? What can you add there beyond, oh, I am thrilled, fabulous, thank you very much? That's not the right answer, or it's not the full answer. There you go, Alison, thank you very much. The phrase I often use is, thank you very much, I'm delighted you've offered me the job, subject to salary and working conditions, I would like to accept. I think that small phrase is quite useful. Subject to salary and working conditions. Now, you might not want any particular difference in working conditions, but it just puts them on notice. And as soon as you mention salary like that, they know they have to think about the salary they are offering you. And therefore you would say, so I look forward to receiving a formal offer for the post. Email would be super. It's a Friday today. That would be great if I could have that on Monday, and your suggestion of the salary. Now you have to practice being able to say that, or your suggestion of the working pattern that would be useful for you. You should be polite, you should be charming, you should be smiley, you should be happy, and you must say those very clear words. And if you can get them to move to it by email, then you can take your time over the answers. Now then, how would that sound? How would you feel? Could you say, thank you, I'm delighted to accept the job. I'm looking forward to I'm reading Nil's one, receiving a formal offer and moving forward with the salary negotiation. Brilliant. And it's not emotional. You can be as smiley as you want, but it's very clear. Amy, what do you mean by a particular point? Do you mean a point on a scale in that way? Right. No, not before applying. Absolutely not. No, because that might limit you. That might mean they would be thinking a higher point and you say, I want this one. It'll go, there you go, have that one. So no, don't. Keep the discussion until they offer you the job. Now think about that. There's always room for negotiation. Always room for negotiation. Wait for the offer, then negotiate. Now, why is that important? That doesn't make you look bad at all. Let's get rid of that in our heads. It's not a bad thing to do. They've already spent time and money appointing you, choosing you. If they can't come to a win-win with you, they're going to have to start again. which is going to cost them a lot more time and a lot more money. And inevitably, there might be an impact on the students because they won't have a teacher there in post. No, don't feel worried about the reputation at all. Have to stop worrying, because if they were two men having this conversation, they wouldn't be bothered about reputation. We're the ones bothered about it because we've learnt to be people pleasers. This isn't about being bolshy or aggressive or anything. It's about being assertive about the worth you offer, certain of your own worth and certain of being able to explore that. Have you got your hand up, Palm?
Yes, I have. Sorry, only because Kate posted a question in the chat earlier. She said, I was told I was valued and recognised, but it never led to any specific action, and I never really felt it from the particular person in charge. What do you do if the person at the top has no interest in furthering your career?
Go somewhere else. If you've tried and you've tried to negotiate and you've asked for this and not got it, in the end you have to say, I don't believe that you value what I can offer. I'm going to need to look for another job. So that's what you did. Only thing I'd say, Kate, is maybe it took you too long to do that. And that's why negotiation is helpful, because if you don't ask, you can't get. And if you don't ask, I understand that, Kate, yes. So just generally, if you don't ask, you won't get, because they can't be expected to know what you want. They could be expected to treat everybody equally, which they weren't doing in Andy's situation, for example. But if we don't ask, we don't get. And if we ask and they don't give it to us, then that means we're in the wrong organization. They're not, they're not the right values or the culture for you. Okay, what I'd oh yes, you love the ethos, but you don't love the leadership, and the leadership will change the ethos eventually. But you also love yourself. We have to love ourselves, and we have to know our value, and we have to not accept being undervalued or underrated. And in most cases, if you do it politely, charmingly, and you practice those rules, on the whole, people walk away with something that makes them happy at the very least. I want to apologize for messing things up earlier. I didn't make it work very well, even though for some reason it was still there. What I might do, if Andy would do it again with me, is I might just do a webinar again and just put it in properly, spend the time with you all. So you might get 2 videos in the end. Thank you, Andy. We don't say sorry, but I'm apologizing for my mistake. But I'm not sorry at all that you did join us this evening. Thank you very much. I hope you've taken something away from this. I'll send you the articles to read, and read those and practice, practice, practice. The more you do, the easier you can do it. And if I can get a lot of money off a new car, anybody can do it, I promise. Thank you very much, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you again. I'll send the PowerPoint, I'll send the articles, I'll send the video, I'll send you everything, because these skill sessions are about all of us being empowered and skilling up for what we need to do. Thank you very much, Claire. Thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing you at another Women Ed event. Bye-bye.